family, and thank you for joining me this evening here on the front porch at Sweet Bee's Honey House. Well, as you can see, I'm in the process of shelling pecans. We've had a beautiful harvest of pecans, not only on our property, but our friends have been so generous to allow us to come on their property and harvest as well. So we're in the process of getting those ready for our preserving method. Now we use a freezer method, which is very easy to do. Once we shell the pecan, we just put our pecans in a high quality freezer bag, and then we stick them in the freezer, and they will last all year long. Now we do it this way because it's very easy. When I'm ready for a recipe, I can easily take it out, have it on the countertop for just a few minutes, 15 or so, and it's ready to put in my recipe. Speaking of recipes, we're going to go over a couple of our recipes. The first one will be a pecan butter. Now, our pecan butter is not like a traditional butter, such as peanut butter or almond butter. We don't just utilize the meat of the nut. What we do is we candy the pecan first, and after we candy the pecan, then we add it to a quality butter, and a softened quality butter, and then we mix that, and it's a wonderful spread for your bagel or toast, or really anything that you enjoy putting a butter spread on. So we're going to take you through that recipe, but we're also going to take you through my family's pecan pie. Now, because of the fact that my husband does not care for corn syrup, we're going to show you how we make our pecan pies with a custard. It's going to be based off of my mom's coconut pie recipe, and which she would make a custard, and then she would, or the basis of a custard, and she would add her coconut to. We're going to take that same recipe and we're going to add crushed pecans in. So we're going to walk you through both of those recipes, and I hope you enjoy them as much as my family does. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, come join me in the kitchen as I put on an apron, and I've already got my hair pinned up, so we're ready to go. So join us this evening as we work with our preserved pecans. As I mentioned before, preserving pecans is very easy. All you have to remember is to use a good quality freezer bag. Now, before we put all of these in the freezer, let's use a bag of these to make a few things. To start off with, we're going to melt our 2 tablespoons of butter, and we're just going to do this over a medium-high heat, so about a 7 if you've got a dial on your stove. We're going to go ahead and get that melting, and then we'll add the pecan. Now that our butter's melted, we're going to go ahead and add 1 cup of pecans. We're going to coat our pecans with butter. Now we're going to add our seasonings. We have 1/2, and I have to say it's a heaping, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. We have a 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, and that's a heaping spoonful as well. And then 1/4 of a teaspoon of smoked sea salt. Now, if you don't have the smoked sea salt, or you can't get it in your area, regular salt is fine. The sea salt, it just adds a really nice depth of flavor to the butter. To our pecans, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And we're also going to add 1/4 of a cup of maple syrup. That's going to sweeten our pecans. Now we're going to just let this simmer or roast basically until our pecans start to candy. When you start seeing the mixture thicken, and your pecans start to get stringy with the syrup, we're going to go ahead and turn the stove off, and we are going to place our pecans on a parchment paper and let them completely cool. So we're going to go ahead and let these pecans roast a little bit apart here on the stove, and then we will go ahead and bring you back when it's time to take them off and add them to our parchment paper. Family, this is about 5 minutes in. I've just been stirring it constantly, and you can see how it's already thickening up. And I'm probably going to let it go for another couple of minutes. And when I start seeing a little bit of, as I'm tossing it back and forth like this, you see we're almost done. Most of the syrup is, most of the syrup is cooked down. And so when I start seeing it really pull apart from each other, and I know it sounds weird, but when it starts getting, you can start seeing little strings back and forth, that's when I pretty much stop and put it on the parchment paper. But I'm basically making sure that all of the pecans are nice and toasted. See that? Oh, see? I had it there for a second. I don't know if you can see it, but see the stringy stuff? I know I'm being weird. I don't know if you can see that, but I wish you could. You can really see it coating to the pecans, and that's when you know that you are ready to take this off the eye. So it starts just stringing just a little bit, just like whenever you're making candy on the stove. If you've ever made candy, different types of candied recipes, that's what we're looking for, is that little bit of stringiness, and I'm hoping that you can see some of that in the video. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and hit the stop button on our stove, and we're going to go ahead and get us a piece of parchment paper, and we're going to spread our pecans out so that they can cool. So we're going to go ahead and turn our stove off at this point. Okay, family, you can see that these have beautifully candied, and now they're dried. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our dried candied pecans, and we are going to add them to our food processor, and then we're going to grind those up. So I'll bring you back as soon as we put them in the food processor. Family, now we're going to add these to the food processor. Now, if they are just a little bit sticky or tacky, that's just fine. It doesn't really matter with what we're doing with these. So we're going to go ahead and get these spread out, and then we're going to turn the food processor on, and we are going to grind these pecans up to a very fine chop. I'll bring you back as we're doing this, and you can see exactly the consistency that we're talking about. I'm going to show you what kind of a chop I did this with. It's not like mush or anything. It's just a finely chopped nut. And now we're on to the next step, which is adding our butter. I'm using 1 stick of softened butter. This butter's just been left out on the counter. Nothing special has been done to it. We got a piece of butter stuck, so we're going to go ahead and move that around. I'm going to mix it again. Now we're going to go ahead and wipe down the sides and make sure that we've got a good blend. And then we'll go ahead and package this up into a container. And this is going to be ready to put on a piece of bread. We're going to be bringing some bread out, or we just brought some bread out of the oven. It's cooling right now, and so we're going to go ahead and get us a slice as soon as it's cooled down and show you how beautifully this spreads out. Now we're just going to go ahead and place our butter in a 1/2 pint mason jar, and then we can just store this in the refrigerator. And whenever you get ready to serve it, just put it out on your countertop so it can soften back up. And you are gonna have one more happy family because this stuff is fantastic. Family, just look at this beautiful pecan butter. Now make sure that when you're tasting it, it's right for your family. If you have more of a sweet tooth, you may want to add a little more maple syrup, or if you like that kick of cinnamon, you may want to add a little bit more. Make this your own. We particularly like it this way because it brings a lot of the pecan flavoring, and with that little bit of smoked sea salt, it just really deepens the flavor. And to us, it's one of our favorite ways of using pecans during this time of year. Okay, family, so now we're going to go ahead and cut up our bread so that we can try out our yummy pecan butter. So I don't necessarily like using the end pieces. I like to keep it on my loaf as it's in my bread bag to keep the loaf moist. My husband differs with me on this one, but I always like to keep it. What about in your family? Do you always use the end piece whenever it first comes out, or do you save it to keep the bread moist? So we're going to go ahead. We're ready for our pecan butter. We're going to go ahead and add it next. Okay, family, so we're going to go ahead and add our pecan butter. And remember, this it has a shelf life the same as regular butter would. So you want to make sure that you're putting it up after use, so in the refrigerator. And then whenever you're ready to use it, take it out so it can soften up. Okay, family, our first step in our pecan pie is making our crust. Now, this is just my go-to pie crust recipe. If you're interested in this, please let me know. I'll do a short video on how I prepare my pie crust. I just went ahead. I am making 2 pies today, so my husband can take one to an event. So I am just blind baking these. I've already finished the first one over here on the right. We'll go ahead and get that one set up, and I'm about to put the other one in the oven. So we're going to go ahead next and start chopping up our pecans. Family, I'm going to be making 2 pies. So I will give you the measurements for 1, but you'll see me adding more ingredients. So we're going to start off with 1 cup of chopped pecans. I just want to go ahead and get these chopped up since I had the food processor out. So we're going to go ahead and get these chopped up and we'll set them aside. Now to these pecans, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. That's going to help with the thickening of our custard. So that's 2 tablespoons, and I will write in the description this particular recipe. Family, we're going to start out in our mixing bowl with 1 cup of milk. And to this 1 cup of milk, I'm going to go ahead and get 3 room temperature eggs. I'm using medium to large eggs here. And so I'm going to go ahead and crack those in a separate bowl, and then I'm going to add it to our mixture. So family, next we're adding our 3 room temperature eggs, and we're just going to go ahead and get this all blended up, and then we're going to add our chopped pecans. Well, now that we have this all nicely blended, we're going to go ahead and on our chopped pecans that we have our all-purpose flour mixed in with. So we're going to go ahead and just add this over into it, and then we're going to add just a pinch of our smoked sea salt. Now we're going to add that little bit of sea salt, and we enjoy the smoked flavor. That's just going to give the recipe some depth, but do not feel necessary to go out and have to buy. If you only have sea salt, just use the sea salt. You don't necessarily need the smoked sea salt. It's just something that my family prefers. Family, now we're adding our 1 cup of light brown sugar. And then we're just going to go ahead and get this mixed thoroughly. And then we'll be ready to pour this over into our pre-baked pie shell. Now remember, we just baked it for a little while, so this is ready to be poured in now, and then we'll put it back in the oven. So go ahead and get this mixed up, and we'll be ready to pour into our pie shell next. Now that we've got our mixture poured into our pie shell, it's just a matter of adding the pecans to the top. Now, if you didn't want to do this decorative part, you don't have to. This is just something that me and my dad was the one that always decorated the top of the pies in our household. My dad took great pride in his pies and all the decorative pecans that he would add to it. Mama never had to worry about it. So this is just something that reminds me a lot of my dad. So after we've done this, we'll be ready to put it in the oven. We're going to place our pecan pie in the oven and bake for 30 to 45 minutes. Now it's time for us to enjoy a piece of this yummy pecan pie with a cup of coffee. I hope you enjoy these recipes and to know how easy it is to preserve pecans.